here from, let me just check who this expired from. Braston C. I don't want to give out your full name, obviously that is in the email, but that one expired. You can resend it. I'll try and get to that one quickly. And Killer 39800 also expired, so I can't get to those two. Trying to get to them as quick as I can so they don't expire, but the odds are there's going to be a lot of expiring demos. So anyways, we'll go into this one. Dumbo bought armor. Let me just turn my volume down here real quick. Hopefully this is a little bit better. Okay, so bought armor and boosting over the box. Okay, let me just check one thing here. I'm sorry, I'm a terrible person. I'm just gonna read this guy's email as I forgot to read it beforehand. I'm sorry. Our ranks are DMG to LE. I'm looking for help with the full team. Alright, great. Okay, so for a full team setup, starting out on pistol round, I don't have any problems with this setup at all. I'm actually going to be making a video on a push on cash. It's actually one of my next videos going to be coming out. It's going to be a push into A main on cash. It's going to be like a extremely good push on pistol rounds. The thing is, on cash CT side, this is a really T-sided pistol round. And what I mean by that is the terrorist, look at all of the close angles you have here. B, this is a somewhat long range angle, but you can maybe get one or two before they actually make it into sight, and they're going to be splitting sight. A, they can get close up forklift, they can come out squeaky, they're going to meet like right here. Mid is the only long range angle you're going to find, and generally at middle, they're not going to be going mid, right? Or they're going to be sending 5 people mid, and I'm sure anybody here has noticed that if you get 5-on-1, it doesn't work. Like, even though you have a USP, you're just not going to be able to outshoot them there. They're just going to spam at you, and they're going to get random headshots. It's just going to happen. So you need to do some sort of an aggression on CT pistol. Since you are a full team here, you can coordinate an aggression. Now, my two favorite aggressions are, number one, going to be an A main push. What you do is you come up here and you toss a flash off the little ramp here, right outside A main, and so it lands in the air back here, and then you peek it in front of it to check into A main. Now, that one's the one I'm going to be making a video on. The other one is what you want to be doing here is you have your two best spawns. They're going to spawn like right here, and like right here, okay? And you have these two guys come towards A main. One of them can buy a smoke and a 5.7. The other one can buy armor or whatever, depending on what you're feeling comfortable with. But you can buy whatever you want. You just have to recognize that you're going to be fighting close range. And what you do is these two guys run straight through A into Squeaky, and the guy with the smoke smokes out here. Okay? That way they're not going to rush right behind you and see right into Squeaky. You open up Squeaky, push Squeaky, and clear out this area. And then if they're hitting A, you're actually going to have a pretty good angle from Squeaky aiming down into here, and then you can have the rotates in, and what's going to happen is they can't be here. Okay, they can't really be, and like they're stuck. They have to be in A main or like in sight. And if your guys rotate quick enough, because you'll be able to hear them from like here, they're gonna get the bomb planted, and you're already gonna have two guys around here and one guy around here, something like that, and then two guys in Squeaky. And you can basically just pick them apart from this setup, even if they go 5-man through A main. What generally is going to happen, though, is what they're doing here. 3 men through A main, 1 man through Squeaky, 1 guy mid, or 2 guys through Squeaky, anything like that. And you generally, if you have good aim, the problem is that, especially as you get lower down the ranks, Glocks get more and more powerful because they're more spam guns. So you have to recognize that. That's why I'm definitely recommending, if you're in the lower ranks, definitely buy a 5.7 Or actually, what I would recommend is you have a guy buy a smoke and a 5-7, drop the 5-7 over to the other guy, and buy armor, and then you're two pushing in there, and you're going to have a very good chance you can kill anybody over here, because this is definitely an advantageous angle here, because you're going to get to right about here, and they're going to be running through here. You should definitely be able to 2-on-1 the first guy. Second guy's going to show up. Probably should be able to get that first kill before the second guy shows up. And you're going to be able to 2-on-1 him as well. So I would suggest that squeaky push, although there's a lot of teams out there right now that are really liking this 3-man B push, if you watch the pro scene very much. That works as well, although I've noticed that has gone very, very wrong for me in the past, where just they have Glocks, they get lucky, they headshot your 3 guys, and then the round's over. I don't like doing that. I mean, technically, 3-on-5 from the CTs at an angle like here should be a fight you'll win, but I feel like it's too random, so I prefer to do this squeaky push, or my favorite is definitely the A-main push, although both have their merits in terms of A-main or squeaky. They're both kind of adaptable. The A-main push is better if you're a solo queue. But you can't be playing passive like this because you generally should lose. I mean, you're not always going to lose, but you generally should lose. You're at a disadvantage if you're playing passive like this. So the other thing you have to do is, if you are going to be playing passive, this guy needs to push up and play right here, because what he'll hear is he'll hear them running to A from like when they're right here. And so you can get a much, much quicker rotate, because as you can see, they're already in sight, and you're rotating through CT right now. It's really, really late, right? Definitely want to play this guy, because he can fall back. He can hear them here and then be like, oh yeah, fuck it, let's go back into sight, play it a little bit more passive, be safe, and then have a hold like this, right, where you're holding here. Although I do prefer if you play this guy here, if he holds here and he looks towards forklift, because it's just a better long range angle in my eyes, because the angle he's holding here is kind of weak. And if he is going to be holding this angle, you need to make sure you're always holding angles where you're 2-on-1ing people. So I would prefer this guy here to be playing a little bit more in sight and covering them as they rush quad, and this guy can be peeking out on this side over like that, and on this side over like that, and you can kind of juke around and get some free kills. That's what I would prefer. So here, gets trapped in sight, lots of people dying. So now you're 5-on-1, so this round's over. Yeah, you can't play it standard. You just can't play it standard on CT side pistol on cash. It just doesn't work. You also have to recognize, like, alright, you are at a disadvantage when you play it standard. You shouldn't be losing 5-for-0. Something's clearly gone wrong there if you lose at 5-for-0. It means you weren't playing trade angles, or maybe your team is just really bad with the default pistols and you need to be setting up strats where you're running like 2 guys drop 5-7s and 2 guys armor up, and you do something specific with those 2 guys if your team's bad with those default pistols. So here, I don't really like buying, force buying on CT side, especially since the update. The reason for this, it's just a personal opinion, but I don't like force buying anymore. I've never really liked force buying. Unless you're doing a coordinated strat, which you guys aren't. Basically what you're saying is you're hoping that you can out-aim them, and you're not going to be able to do that generally with pistols unless you do something that kind of surprises them. And what generally you want to do when you want to have a force buy is do some sort of setup where you surprise one guy, get that gun, grab it, fall back, have that gun on someone with armor, and have him carry you through the round. That's generally what you're trying to do here, or you can get 2 or 3, obviously, but generally, if I'm thinking of a force buy setup, or an eco setup, that's what you want to do. You push through, surprise someone, clear out an area. Like if you did 3 players at B, so imagine you just played 1 guy mid, this guy wasn't here, and you had 3 guys push through B. Although, I mean, that's super scary because they could be 5-man rushing B, but you do a 3-man B setup or something like that where you play like 1 here, and like 1 here, so you're surprising someone. First kill, free kill, easy, grab the gun, rotate off, and try and win the round from there. If you just play standard setups, they should always be able to beat you. Also, this guy here, I would prefer if he had a flash. because he's got the money for it. You toss a flash, I'll just unpause. You toss a flash right off of here, and then it's going to bounce up and land like here. And then if you're pushing through A main with that flash, those people, if you remember back, they had 4 guys just running straight through A main. Those guys would be turned around, and it should be 1 free kill, and then you can fall back from there. But now they've already got entries, they've got better guns. Here's where you need to be saving. Forget about winning this round. 3-on-5 with only pistols, especially since Hayes has no armor. You're never winning this round. I mean, I'm not going to say never, but it's not worth... If you... Okay, like, talking about expected value here, if you add up all the money you make from winning the round... Like, percentage-wise, you win this maybe 1 out of 90 times. Like, you're not winning this round anywhere near enough to justify going for it here. Unless they totally fuck up. Like, unless they totally fumble you're not winning. So your best idea there is just to save your guns for the following round and then hope to win that round. Because all you're doing there by not saving your guns is suiciding 3 guys. So here you're on a full save. I'm not even going to watch this. It's just going to be a massacre. Yeah, you got 4 kills total in the first 3 rounds. Excuse me. Yeah. That's just the way it's going to go. Unfortunately, you have a bot. Okay. And for gun rounds, when you are in a 4-on-5 like this, I definitely kind of like what Bjarger, I'm just calling what Stebby, I guess, is doing here. But he needs support. What you want to be doing when you're a 4-on-5 here is you have someone go aggressive with support from a teammate, so at least you can trade, and then the guy that dies grabs the bot, and then you're on a 4-on-4 instead of 4-on-5, right? Because he grabs the bot and everything's good, hunky-dory, right? So that's what I would do. Have this guy have support, so only one guy B, and then someone come with this guy, and then you get a first kill, get a trade kill, hopefully. Guy that dies grabs the bot, and then you're in a good position. This guy going aggressive on his own is fine, I guess, but he definitely could go down without getting traded, and I like that he's going aggressive trying to even out the scoreline because he isn't a 4-on-5, but like I said, if he dies, there's nobody there to trade for him, and it's just going to be a 5-on-3, which is not good. And the most important part is, though, if you have a teammate there to trade, then he can grab the bot when he dies, come back around and grab the gun. Whereas if he grabs the bot after he dies here, which apparently he's not going to die, but if he was to die and he grabbed the bot, he wouldn't be able to grab a gun. So it would be, like, basically just not good. Also, I don't really like playing 2B. Generally, whoa, these guys are both in smoke. That's weird. Generally, the 2 most common setups you're going to find are 2-2-1 and 1-3-1. Those are going to be the most common 2 setups to run on your CT side, because you need control of middle or else this is going to happen. So you can play a 1-3-1 or a 2-2-1, but don't play 2B. Usually, if you play a 1-3-1, you're a little bit more heavy to B, because you can have a guy in vents, a guy Z, and a guy, you know, either here or here. So you have mids totally gone. They can't go mid. And then B has a quick rotate, so you don't have to worry too much about B. And then A has a guy over here, so he's got a quick rotate as well. They can't really go A very easily, so they have to find an entry pick. And if you guys don't give that up, you're going to be in a good position. 2-1-2 just doesn't work. Neither does a 1-1-2. If you're going to stack towards anything, stack towards A, I guess. Or stack towards mid, I mean, primarily. But if you're going to stack towards not mid, stack towards A. It's just better. Because B is a little bit easier to retake, especially when you have guns against... I don't even want to say that. It's a little bit easier to retake if you get there quickly, because what you can do is what's going to happen a lot as T sides, they're going to be running like a 4-man rush, and they're going to have guys that just stack up in sight, and then you can retake, and you can trap them in sight. Whereas if they take A, you have to clear out quad, forklift, squeaky, aim it, and it's really tough. B is just the easier site to take, hold. The thing about A is, like, if they force their way in, you can't really delay them. Whereas at B, if they try and force their way in, you can have a guy here or a guy here who can delay them for a long time and stop them from getting pushed up. Because they can't really push through into CT if this guy's still alive in sight, whereas they can push through into Speedway if there's a guy alive still here or something like that, right? So generally, you don't want to be playing too towards B. It's just not worth it. You just want to play someone on quick rotate. Let's see how this one goes. Guys above him. Let's see where the rotates are here. Why is number... Okay, so that shows his number 4 for some reason. Whatever. You guys, this is what happens when you're in this situation, because you guys are all completely scrambled. So you're just in a tough spot to actually win a round here. I mean, even though... The thing is, even though you're a 4-on-4, the map control clearly goes to them, and the thing is, if they get one entry frag, the round's basically theirs. You guys have to get all of the entries. Like, this guy could easily get an entry, so could this guy, and so could this guy. And if any of their 3 terrorists get the first entry kill, so if this guy gets a frag on the guy below him, if this guy kills Hayes, or if this guy kills John Caleb, you're going to lose the round 100% of the time. But if this guy gets an entry, or your guy gets an entry, or your guy gets an entry, you're still not guaranteed the round, just because of the situation you are on the map, because they're so pushed up. Anywhere they get a kill, they can easily rotate the rest of their team over, and the round's over. So you need to not be this split up. What I'd suggest is have this guy stay here, have this guy hit up through over to truck, and this guy is the most likely not to get entried on because he knows that this whole area is still clear. So what you can do is you can get a trade kill with this guy as he's over at truck, and he can also support this guy pretty well for people that running up through Speedway there. And this guy, he's got an advantage here. He can sit behind this box or behind this box or CT or wherever. He's got a pretty good advantage. This is the really... Excuse me, this is the really scary spot. This is pretty scary as well, and so is this. Just the fact that this guy could get entried is really scary. Less than the fact that he's probably going to. So I do like that this guy's rotating over to truck. Definitely a good idea. This guy pushing forward is kind of a bad idea. What you would want to do is, if you want to have this guy push forward, you have him push forward with his teammate over here instead of them splitting up, because that's going to be an entry over to Radzik now, and now they have control of CT spawn. He's going to push in, and you've basically lost the round here unless there's some serious heroics. And there aren't, so the round's going to be over. What's the problem happening with this team right now is that you guys are not playing together. You're not playing like a team. This is one of the problems with playing in matchmake, and why a lot of pros will tell you that playing in matchmake doesn't really improve you as a player. The reason for this is just a solo queue group of 5. If you guys didn't have the same tag, this would be indistinguishable from a solo queue 5-man queue. Like, or just solo queue 5 random players. This would be indistinguishable if you weren't all tagged up. Because you're not playing like you're communicating. You need to always be communicating, working together as a team, and doing things that make sense. Rather than what's happening here is you're all playing as 5 individuals that play together. Like, you're not actually supporting each other and doing things that make sense together. Here going for a force buy, kind of weird, but okay. Let's see, so the setup, 1 mid again, not enough. However, the fact that you have 2A is better. I would prefer this guy to be over in Z, supporting mid. Again, I don't like playing 2B, it's just not good on cash. This guy getting a little bit too over aggressive here. He doesn't need to be that aggressive, because... I mean, peeking down that angle is just not worth it. Because especially what he did, he peeks down this angle to clear this, and then he falls right back. So it's like, you have to think about risk-reward there. If you're going to peek down this angle, that's very risky. But if you're going to peek down that angle, clear this, and then head over to here after clearing that, then maybe it's correct aggression because you're taking a big risk, but... maybe the risk is worth it, right? Because then you're getting into a good spot to get a frag. But what you're doing, peeking there, and that means if anybody is here, they're going to be able to kill you. Because, I mean, the smoke's not a wall. They're going to shoot you as you fall back through the smoke. So peeking around the smoke is just not worth it unless you decide to push over here. And in my eyes, it's not worth it even if you just do want to push over to here, just because it's just so risky, and this is just not worth it for a spot. It's just not... I wouldn't suggest going that aggressive. You have to always be thinking about risk reward there, because you're taking a huge risk for basically zero reward when you just fall right back. Yeah. So here, again, what you want to be doing is the same thing you should have been doing on pistol round. One guy in sight, one guy at quad, because your guys are both already in sight. There's no reason to have this guy fall off when you know they're hitting towards A at that very moment. It just doesn't really make sense, because now this guy basically is solo in sight. And now you have two guys that are kind of stacked right next to each other, which isn't necessarily a good thing. You always want to have people that can trade frags, but... you don't want them to be on top of each other, because that means both of these guys are going to be... imagine this turn it on guy, this guy here, comes out of squeaky. He's going to be much more likely to get that double kill than if they're here and they're here, because then he's got to shoot here, turn, then shoot there, whereas here he can just... spray you both down if you want to go for a trade kill. Not only that, but you're also a lot more likely to both get blinded by the exact same flash, which is also very bad. Yeah, so there, you over-rotated just a little bit too much, I guess. What needs to be happening, I'm not sure what happened. Where's... okay, you have three guys up. What needs to happen is it needs to be a full map shift when they're hitting towards one bomb site before you're sure that they're all hitting there, or you want to call for a full rotate. So what happens is if you have a guy here, a guy here, a guy here, a guy here, and a guy here, what you want to do is this guy shifts over to A, this guy shifts over to mid, and this guy... he can either stay in sight or he can shift over to the rotate spot or like into CT or something. So that way you're not fully rotated and fully committed on the rotate, but you do have someone covering every area. Whereas what happened in this round is this Radzik guy, he came out mid and then came up behind everybody because you all rotated over to the same spot and you were all watching the same angle. That's not what should be happening. You always want to do a full map shift instead of a full rotate. Unless you know they're hitting towards the bomb site. And that should be something that you just kind of get as a team, where you recognize that you need to be doing, oh fuck, a full map shift. I accidentally just rewinded back several rounds. Okay, so into this one. Whoa. Into this one. They've already gotten entry somehow. So let's look at the setup. They've gotten entry on Stebby, so that was an entry at A. Let me just rewind this round real quick. That's my bad. I scrub a little bit too much. Okay, so on the buy, 3 ops. 3 ops is a little bit too much there, guys. You don't really need 3 ops on this map. I'd suggest 2. Again, you don't want to have 2 towards B, but that's something that's not going to magically change just because I keep saying it, so I'm going to stop mentioning it. An op mid is good, an op A is fine, an op B could be fine, but if you're only playing 1 there, you don't want it. So I guess 3 ops is okay, but the problem is on cache, this is one of those maps where they're fairly likely to actually take over a bomb site, and you're going to be doing a lot of retakes on cache, which means you don't want to have 3 ops, because then you're going to be retaking with 2 ops no matter which site they go. So imagine they take B, you're going to be a 3-man retake with 2 of your 3 players with an op. They take A, same thing, 3-man retake, 2 of your players have an op. That's not good, really, really not good, because they're fairly likely to take a bomb site given that it's cache. So you want maximum 2 ops, 1 op mid, 1 op, I would say A, because you can get more information at A than you can at B, although at B you can kind of get this angle here. At A you can peek straight down into A main and then boost someone up onto the box or get someone into the here or something like that, and then he's more likely to be able to rotate over to mid. It just makes more sense to me to have an op mid and an op A, but again, should be playing a 1-3-1 if possible. Here he's going to go aggressive. You need to make sure if you're pushing into A main, this is a very important angle to clear before you peek down into this angle, because people are going to be here a ton, quite a lot. almost just skipped around there. Let's see. So he knows that one player's there. So this again should be a shift at the maximum, where this guy comes mid, this guy goes A. Just a shift for support. But what you want to be doing, yeah, that should generally be what you're doing. You should shift this guy over to A and shift this guy over to mid. Although because this guy Dumbo is rotating with the rifle and this guy is not, then maybe rotating Dumbo over to A isn't the worst idea. The problem is that he's going to be on a really long rotate over to A from B, so that's the reason you do a shift. But I guess it's not the end of the world. He should be rotating in and committing towards A. But I guess he saw someone forklift, so he can't really commit towards A. But in best case scenario, this guy isn't here. Like, forget about this guy. This guy wants to rotate in and commit to A, or at the worst, kind of check out A and be like, "Hey girl, what you doing?" And then come over to Speedway if they're not A. And then he can be a quick rotate to B or A, and that would be great. I mean, real best case scenario is this guy has a rifle and he's in vents. 4-on-5 like that. So you have two guys A, one guy covering mid, but also on quick rotate to B, and one guy in B. But obviously that's not possible, so I won't even talk about that. There's a kill there. So now you know bomb is down, I believe, right? No, bomb's down and A main. Okay, so never mind. You don't know bomb's down. You have no idea, so long you guys aren't rotating, which is great. This guy should definitely be staying at A. There's no information that should make him rotate to B, and there's no information that should make him rotate to mid like this. This is bad. You don't want to crowd your teammates. There's no reason to be crowding your teammates. It's the same thing as when the two people are holding this angle and this angle. All you're doing is crowding each other. You're not making your trade kills happen. If this guy had gone around like that, that would have been way better, especially because there was no way he was getting killed from A, so there's no reason not to go through here. And then he would have been actually able to support his teammate instead of just being right beside him, holding his hand, and then he can slap his ass after he dies. It doesn't make any sense to have a guy here right next to his teammate. Anything that, I mean, anything Dumbo is doing here is something that Ruzkimov can do on his own without Dumbo. There's no reason to have both of them there. And actually, a cool tip here, if you are Ruzkimov and you want to re-peek mid, you can toss a flash off of this wall that'll pop flash mid. But one thing that you might not know is not only that, but you can toss a flash if you're running towards mid from CT. You can toss a flash off the ground here that can bounce out into there. But one of my favorite flashes is if I'm rotating over from B, you can toss a flash like off of these rafter things here, because apparently there was construction done on Cache recently, and it'll bounce out like this, just outside of mid, and it'll blind anybody there, and you can run backwards with it and have a really good peek. Anyways, it's kind of going on a tangent. Yeah, he's only there for moral support. Anyways, John Celeb here. Oh, that's so unfortunate. I can't really fault him there. The thing is, I mean, the quote-unquote optimal play, like, if I'm a fucking robot and I'm going to tell you the optimal play there is to hide behind quad, because this guy will have to check quad. You've only got 20 seconds left. There's no reason to be forcing the kill there and trying to get a free frag or anything weird like that. Just hide behind quad, wait for him to bomb plant, and he has to check you. If he doesn't check you, it's a free kill, it's a free round win. However, since we're living in real life right now, I mean, I don't fault him for trying to, like, peek out, like, that guy's running with his back turned, what's happening? However, the act of actually peeking out was probably the problem there. The fact that after peeking out, he saw the guy's back and was like, what's going on here? Like, why is the house on fire? Like, you know, the act of actually, like, trying to figure out what the fuck was going on after that guy had his back turned, absolutely fine. The act of actually peeking out was probably the issue there, because that led to the bad situation. And then Hayes, don't fault him for that. That's kind of just a situation you got in. 1-on-2, not much to do. I'm a poet, and I absolutely did have full awareness that I was. Here you're on, like, a weird, like, this is the epitome of solo queue. Like, what's going on here? Really? I mean, there's no coordination. You got 2 guys pushing up mid, 1 guy pushing A, 2 guys pushing B. What was the call? Was it just like everybody rush your spots and fucking cross your fingers and hopefully maybe we'll win a round? Like, there needs to be some thought I mean, I'm sorry, I'm being kind of harsh here, but there needs to be some thought process here. What is the thought process behind doing this exact push? What is the there's no thought process there. You need to do something together, and you're not even buying together. I mean, I would accept the not even buying together if you were evening out your money, but you're not evening out your money. If this round works, it's purely by luck. I mean, like, I'm sorry, but like this is just how it is. Here, this guy should be hugging the corner. There's no reason to flare out here. This guy has no idea. Let's assume that he has no idea he's there, because coming into this guy's perspective, I'm thinking he has no idea he's there. Stream is loud as crap. My voice is loud as crap, or the in-game is loud as crap. Anyways, this corner here. Okay, if this guy has no idea where John Celeb here is, then hiding in the corner is 10 out of do that. If this guy has some idea that John Celeb here is going to be here, then flaring out is good. Because the reason you flare out, the reason you want to flare out is because you want people to peek out this 90-degree angle, check your spot, and then you're coming at them from the side. However, because obviously if he doesn't expect you to be here, this isn't exactly the first spot he's going to check, there's no reason to flare out, because that means if he looks over to here, he's more likely to see you out of the corner of his eye and kill you. So you don't want to be doing that. You just want to be surprising him there. And actually, if you're holding the 90-degree angle, it'd be more like, whoa, okay, that guy, okay, that was an interesting play. That flash is okay. I just do prefer to throw it off the ground right here, off that little thing. It bounces up really high, and it's a little bit better. Peeking this with the right, considering making a video on this as well. Wide peek. That's a wide peek. Look at the distance from you to the corner. You could measure that with a fucking meter stick. Like, you couldn't even measure that with a meter stick. You're like 2 meters out from the corner here. If you're peeking with a rifle into an angle where oppers are likely to be playing, or that riflers are likely to be playing and not blinded, you don't want to be peeking so wide. It's not necessary. You peek a little bit narrow, check if someone is there, and then you cross over. You don't peek wide like that. Also, there's no reason to be throwing the smoke like that. What you can do is throw it off the wall and it'll land there anyways. There's no reason to put yourself in danger zone to throw a smoke. Here, what I would be doing personally is pushing up closer. Although that's just a personal preference. Actually, it's probably better if you kind of play it more passively. What I would prefer, though, like optimal scenario, this guy pushes up near the smoke, and this guy pushes in and gets like over here or something, so they can support each other. I'd say that's probably optimal. Now John Celeb here is trapped. He knows this guy's shooting at him, and this guy's are going to be shooting at him shortly. So he has to make a decision here. This is really, you need to be decisive in this type of scenario. Either you tell Stebby, imagine yours, John Celeb, you go, Stebby, peek the guy squeaky or nade him or whatever, and then he peeks out and tries to get that frag, or he pushes straight into A main and gets away from this guy. You can't kind of just hide in limbo here, because then they're going to push into main and kill you shortly. Also, this is a bad angle. You always want to be playing angles where you can fall back easily. In terms of setup here, you're on a 5-on-3, but again, a lot of players are very left out in the open here, and the most important thing to remember is that if this player at B died, the entire setup would be screwed. Although you do know that they're very likely to have bomb over, actually, I believe you knew that you killed bomb at A main, so maybe that's fine. Although this is kind of a weird spot. Generally, what you want to be doing, if you're in this type of 5-on-3, what you want to be doing is spotting an angle, seeing them coming, falling back, and calling for rotates. You don't want to be playing angles like this, where you're like, imagine these 3 guys, like, imagine this guy didn't do what he just did. Imagine they all, as soon as they grabbed that bomb, they all ran back over to B and then walked from here. They would be coming out here, and Dumbo would be on an island all alone, and the best he can do is frag out. And, excuse me, the thing you don't want to be trying to frag out when you're in a 5-on-3. You want to be getting information, calling for rotates, and then working the numbers advantage. You don't want to be trying to work the straight-up gunfights. Or you get into a position like you were in half a second ago, where you're in a 3-on-2 all of a sudden instead of a 5-on-3, which is really winnable by them. And especially if Tomesi for you, if he had won that gunfight against Hayes, they probably would have won that round, actually. So that's just not what should be happening. So they're pushing out middle. This is a really crucial round, and you guys are playing quite a few towards mid, so I do quite like that. What is going on here? Okay, I do quite like that you guys are playing quite a few towards mid, although what you want to be doing is generally, if you're going to be playing people pushing up in mid, like you guys clearly are, first of all, you can't do it with 2. You need 3. You need 2 guys pushing up and then 1 guy supporting from like here so that you can cover for this exact scenario. But what you want to do is you want to have 1 guy come out to here and throw a Molotov that lands right here, and that way you can push up without getting boosted over. Because the worst case scenario, if you're trying to push up mid, is 3 guys boost. They do exactly what they're doing, basically. 3 guys boost over, they immediately try and shoot you, and you guys are in the middle of the open and basically just have to frag out, but you're blind, so you can't frag out. Like, that's the worst case scenario, and unfortunately, worst case scenario did happen. Stebby, although, did just stave off elimination there by getting a kill. That was really nice by getting those 2 kills. So he did make it all possible, but just didn't quite happen. Now, John Celeb here. Personally, I would have preferred if John Celeb, instead of rotating over to mid, he stayed over here, just because Dumbo should be the man rotating over to mid. Always remember, shift, don't over-rotate. Shift. So Dumbo should have rotated into mid, and this guy here should have stayed at forklift or in sight, and then you wouldn't have been in this situation, and you probably would have won the round, or at least would have had a much better position to actually win the round. This is getting pretty one-sided. You're on an eco. Again, you're just going solo aggressive, so any rounds you win when you go solo aggressive like that are purely based on individual efforts, which is never going to be good. You got to have strats that you're running, so like 3 people pushing B, or you can do something like you push 3 up mid and 1 guy boosts someone over. I'll give you an example of a strat I would call. Okay, 3 guys push up mid, smoke it off, so someone smokes it off. 1 guy boost up, but don't peek over, so he stays unpeaked. 1 guy push into the smoke in middle. You have 1 guy A, 1 guy B, and the B guy comes over here, and the A guy can like hide in sight. And then after he boosts that guy up, this guy can run back over to A. It kind of it's getting a little bit complicated there, but that maybe is a strat I would have if I had a full team that we were legit like running strats. A strat I often run on pug teams. 4 guys, P250s, all 4, I say, walk up B, get to the right side of this wall, right here. You all sit here. I go into heaven, crouch down, throw a pop flash that blows up right here, and I say, as soon as that flash blows up, you all run in. And what you're going to find is a lot of the time there are going to be people blind right around here, and you're going to be able to get trade kills. Oftentimes we'll go 2 for 2, or even grab a free entry, grab the gun, and then rotate off or something like that. Best case scenario is they're taking middle, and we get a couple kills here, and then we can rotate over and do something else. And actually we can boost up in events and flank them if they go middle. Just all works out if you have a little bit more coordination there. Here, you guys just got absolutely decimated. Again, you guys are playing incredibly solo. You're not playing together as a team, which is just not good. Let's see. So here, you guys are just on an eco. What you want to be doing on an eco is, again, you want to have a little bit of teamwork going on there. Personally, what I would do is what I like to say is, Opper, go very aggressive, someone buy body armor. So anybody with a little bit extra money, buy body armor. Follow the opera around with your finger up his ass. Like, don't leave this guy. Trade kill if he gets killed from close up. So you buy like body armor and a P250. Trade kill if he gets killed from close up. Grab the op if he dies, because the only way you're winning a round where you're on fucking CZs and you have one op is if your opper goes ham and he just gets a couple entries and then you grab guns based on that. So you have your opper, what I would do is I'd have him push up A main and peek into here, because that's where he's very likely, it's one of those angles where either he's probably going to die or he's probably going to get a kill, and if he gets neither, then he's cleared out a large area of the map and he's in a good position. I wouldn't have him hold mid, because then oftentimes they'll just run straight towards A, or oftentimes they'll run straight towards B, and then he's basically been nullified entirely. I mean, of course, they could run straight towards B when he's at A, but that's somewhat unlikely. I mean, of course, it's less likely than them running 5-man towards A, because they have run 5-man towards A quite a few times before, but they could, if he's holding mid, they could just slow work A or B and he'd be nullified as well. You want to have him go aggressive at a side of the map where he can either get an entry, get entried on, or get some good information. So on Dust 2, I'd say either go long or go mid, peek towards mid. I often do that, because he either gets an entry. Of course, you can't get a gun off that entry. That's what you would like. So that's why A main's really good instead of mid as well, because if you kill someone that's boosted over, you can't even get their gun. So it's like completely useless. But if you kill someone in A main, then you can get their gun as well. But you can at least put yourself in a position to actually win the round. Now 2-on-3, I'd say save the op again, but he dies, so oh well. And that's the round. Stebby should have just been getting an exit there and trying to save a gun. I wouldn't have faulted him, though, if he wanted to try and go for the round, because, I mean, you're down this many rounds, you may as well go for it. What I would prefer here, Stebby jumps over this box instead of running right around, but now you're already in a 3-on-5, you're already down by a ton in guns, that round's over. All of these rounds are being lost early on, because what's happening is you guys aren't playing together as a team, you're going solo aggressive, and you're getting outshot, and, I mean, it's going to happen from time to time, but you have to be able to play as a team. Here, Dumbo goes solo aggressive, but he does have support from Hayes, which is good. However, I would have preferred if Hayes opt this angle, Dumbo gets right here, and then Hayes pulls out a flash and flashes so that anybody in this general area is going to be blind, and then Dumbo goes around the corner, because that particular frag there was just Dumbo finding an entry one-on-one, which you don't generally want to rely your rounds on. Now, after finding that frag, I would like it if Hayes pushed up with Dumbo. Dumbo could sit here, or you could actually fall back and cover the vents, and then Hayes with the op, because then you can peek these angles a little bit better. And if Dumbo was like right here holding the vents push, then he could actually support as well. And then you have John Celeb rotate over to B, and then one of these A guys rotate over to mid, although you don't need someone middle. It's good to have someone there to support, because you do have the bomb down. So what you would have if this guy was, you'd have one guy middle, like kind of covering, one guy, this guy's pushing through so he could go through into T-spawn, one guy here and he's looking at vents and he can support outside, and one guy in checkers who can somewhat support outside, but he's also mainly focused on vents, and then you'd have a very, very good hold. But anyways, 3-on-5, and then again, you guys don't what you didn't do is you didn't shift, you rotated. I mean, you like push. I mean, a rotation is a shift, right? Imagine like rotating a Tetris object, right? So you want to be shifting, not like getting all out of position and screwing shit up. Now you're in a 2-on-3. Primary focus here should be holding onto the bomb, but you are in a 2-on-3, so you want to be fragging out while holding on the bomb. So what Dumbo is doing here is good. What Hayes is doing here, running with the nade out, probably not quite the best idea. I would honestly have them both stack up there, maybe. Otherwise, I would have Hayes come back. Nah. It's hard to say what I would have him do. Actually, I think what he's doing here is fairly good. Once he gets behind this box, the travel time to get behind the box, incredibly dangerous, not worth the effort. But once he got behind the box, it's good. Now, the instant that Dumbo dies, he needs to peek out over here, because as soon as that bomb gets picked up and turn it on, runs away, the round's over. Like, it's not even worth watching. That round's done at that exact moment. Next round here. Deagle, don't do that. Don't buy a Deagle on pistol round. It's not worth it. It's not good. As far as B rushes go, you guys aren't rushing B. I actually quite like that. One of my favorite strats of all time, I saw it in an ESEA Open playoff match. No, actually ESEA Premier. I'm sorry. They had two guys rush towards B, and what they did was they ran right into checkers, and one of them boosted into vents. Okay, this is the coolest strat of all time. You're going to think this is like the bomb, okay? The two guys ran straight into B and boosted into vents, one of them. One of these other guys ran first with the bomb, okay, and what he did was he got spotted with the bomb, and then he turned around and threw it back and passed it over to someone else who booked it all the way over here, and then they had two guys like Squeaky or outside A main or something waiting for him, and then they hit towards A. That was the coolest strat ever. This strat is kind of a little bit weird. I mean, if it works, it works, I guess. It's just a little bit kind of off. And what's going to happen a lot of the time is this. Actually, is that a decoy? That's a decoy, not a player. What's going to happen a lot of the time is they're going to notice that you are pushing... yeah, this is going to happen a lot. So now they've got two guys at A, one guy flanking, one guy already rotating, and another guy flanking. So you're like not in a good position. You may as well. What I do generally on my pistol rounds is I do crisscross smoke, so I have this whole area smoked off. Run two guys into vents, because what's going to happen is one guy often runs straight into checkers, which is going to be hard to deal with on a 5-man B rush. So we have two guys go through vents and then three guys go through main. Just a standard pug strat, but it works a lot. Because I'm mitigating a lot of the problems that we'll run into. Here, you guys are just trying to frag out, basically, get entries as much as possible into the site, and you do, and now you want to be getting into, all these three guys in sight should be doing is delaying, and this guy should be coming up on the flank and getting as many kills as possible. So you should be playing, like, not peeking angles. Which is not what you're doing. You're all peeking out, which is bad. I would honestly prefer to have two guys stack up at quad because you're in kind of a situation where you can't get out of sight. So what I do is like one guy quad, one guy plant spot, and one guy like maybe a second guy quad. I don't know. All you have to do is delay for this guy, because as soon as this guy gets on the flank, the round's over. But you win the round anyway, so it's no big deal. It's just playing it safe there. Now, let's see, you're playing... Okay, this guy, danger zone, this guy is going to do that a lot. They're going to be boosting over here or pushing through here. Nobody should be in the middle of the open with a flash out. The thing is, on anti-ecos, what you want to be doing for the most part, just outgun them. Don't pull any fancy shit. You don't need any crazy smokes and flashes and fakes and any like flashing lights. Like, you don't need to make this a fucking disco party. Pull out your guns, take long range engagements, throw a couple of flashes. Like you can have someone here throw a pop flash that's just basically an arc flash that will land right here and be a very good pop flash for A instead of this guy with his nade out really close, because that's where you kind of get peeked in and the guy dies. You throw it from back here, you have three guys waiting in here and one guy outside Squeaky just making sure they're not pushing through, and he's just like holding this angle, and you'll win the round. Like, you don't need to pull any crazy shit. When you start to get too intricate on these anti-ecos is where you start losing rounds. Like, let's see this flat. Or can I see where that smoke landed? Let me see where these smokes land. You don't need these. You don't need them. Why? What? In what world do you need these smokes? Think about it to yourself before you ever create a strat. What are these three smokes for? Think about it. Nothing. They're for nothing. These smokes do nothing. They're there on gun rounds so you can't get opt from truck, you can't get opt from speedway, you can't get rifled through these smokes. All that those smokes are going to do is they're creating more close range angles for people on their team to jump through and catch you off guard by and get free kills on you. You don't need to do this type of shit. Throw a couple of flashes, outgun them because you have better guns, and win the round. You don't need to go, like, do anything crazy. So this is the same strat again, and you lost 5 players combined in the 2 rounds, so not the biggest deal, but just, it doesn't, you don't need to do that. And not only that, but you wasted so many smokes, so you wasted quite a bit of extra money. Now they're saving again. Okay. Alright. Yeah, okay. They're saving again. This is interesting. And now, see, look what you did here. Vu seems pissed off. What the fuck is this shit? I'm not pissed off, I promise. I'm just like, I don't know, maybe that's me. That's just me, dog. Yeah, I don't know. I'm being a little bit too harsh. I'm sorry. It's just you need I'm trying to make sure you recognize exactly what I'm saying. You never need to do that type of shit. People, like, the thing is, one of the most common things for strat callers, there are 2 common things. When I first started strat calling, one of the biggest complaints people had about me is I called stuff just because. I didn't have strategic reasons to be calling, so you always need to make sure you're doing that. That's a common problem with a lot of shot callers before they're used to strat calling. Number 2, getting too intricate. Simple. Okay, this is like, when I first started strat calling, this was like the biggest thing that was like a fucking foreign concept to me. The more simple a strat is while getting certain things done, the better. You don't need to fucking clusterfuck your rounds. You don't need to do any crazy shit, okay? A couple of smokes, a couple of flashes, a couple of Molotovs. Keep it simple. Allow your players, if you have good teammates, to do their own thing within the strat where they have to do, you know, throw a certain smoke or flash and then do a certain thing, but you have your own little thing you can do within this where you're not dictating their every move. You do simple strats, again, with a couple of flashes, and you'll find way more success than when you try and dictate all these little things like this fucking smoke has to land at this exact millisecond and all this other shit. I mean, maybe if you're playing at like the top 3 pro level, like you're on fucking NIP, then maybe you start to have these strats where you're specifically timed. But when you're playing with just a group of guys that like are playing for fun, or like even you're just practicing a bit, like that type of thing, keep it simple, stupid. I'm just remembering the Office quote. Keep it simple. You don't need to do any crazy shit. Just simple shit. Keep it straightforward. Make sure everybody knows what they're doing, and work on it from there. Get it more complex if you need it to be, but don't force anything. Like, if you're creating a strat, it should be like, okay, I'm kind of responding to the chat here, but if you're creating a strat, what you want to be doing is looking at the issues you see that are possible in a certain. So what I'm like, okay, I want to hit A on cash. What are the possible issues? Well, getting shot from speedway, getting shot from CT. Getting shot from forklift. Well, how do I deal with that? One smoke. You don't need to get like super. You don't want to have a smoke here, a smoke here, a smoke here. It gets a little bit too complex. Here, bomb plant over to A or B. This is what you don't want. This is, again, this is solo. This is the epitome of solo queue. Why? Why, man? Why? Why do you have 3 people sitting in sight? This is so bad. This is like the worst possible setup. This is just so terrible. You don't want this. 1 person sight max. And not only that, one thing you need to recognize, this is the best possible plant if you know B main is secure. Not the best possible plant, obviously not. This is a very good plant. This should be your default. This, where John Celeb planted, that should not be your default. Too many people have this as a default plant. It's a bad default. This is much better. So is over here. These are both much better. Don't make that your default plant. Don't sit 3 people in sight. Please, for the love of God, don't do it. It's so easy to get. It's so easy to get screwed over if you play 3 in sight. You put the bomb planter in sight. Say, hey, plant the bomb. We're gonna go do our own thing. You don't need a support squad to plant the bomb. Okay, we're not on fucking Oprah. You don't need 3 people there to help plant the bomb. You just one guy plant the bomb safely. We'll cover you while you plant. Good to go. I thought you want to plant to watch from checker. Here or here are good. The problem is I feel like getting over to here, you're open to heaven as you get over to here, so I prefer to plant there. Just because you're covered, the only place you can be shot from is B main. Generally, the place you want to have, the bomb planter stays in sight, because once you get in sight, this is why sight is so bad on Cache B. You can't leave sight once you get into sight. It's not possible. They will fuck you. You can't. You have to not go into sight in the first place. So you have one guy checkers, one guy here, one guy here. That's an okay setup if you have the bomb planted here. If the bomb's planted here, maybe you have one guy like here, one guy B main maybe even, or like one guy checkers as well instead of that guy, and then one guy sight. Like, so here, 4 on 5. Just need to go aggressive. Okay, this guy just got pushed up in mid. Just a little bit of miscoordination here. You're not really aware of where your teammates are playing. 3 on 3 all of a sudden, which is great. But this guy shouldn't be forcing the bomb. I'm almost rethinking that statement. Simply because you guys nearly have control of A site. So if that guy grabs the bomb and gets away, then you're in a great position. But it's still super dangerous for him to do that. With the smoke here, he can actually grab it and run away. Oh, so close. That's kind of just shit happens. Now Hayes 1 on 3. Round is basically over. Yeah, this is not going to happen. Or it shouldn't. It should not happen. There you go. Round's over. Alright, so, whew. I'm considering playing a couple games here. I haven't played in like a fucking week. Because I mentioned at the beginning of the demo, I've had a lot of viewers leave and join. I had surgery the other day, so I haven't been playing since the month started, actually.